Welcome to my channel. This is the forest trail that loops you back no matter where you walk. A group of friends, or, if you prefer, imagine yourself here alone on a hike, was going deep into a forest. Locals had warned them not to go too deep, as people got lost there all the time. But the group had scoffed at the warning. They knew this trail like the back of their hands and would show those overprotective locals what they meant by being reckless. For about an hour, they walked down the trail, occasionally laughing and talking. Then suddenly, they stopped. One of them pointed ahead. "Oh, look, there's that fallen tree we passed 20 minutes ago." At first, everyone laughed it off. They must have just been so deep in conversation that they hadn't noticed the tree. Or maybe it really was déjà vu. Either way, it was just a coincidence. Nothing more. They continued along the trail until once again they came across the same fallen tree. This time, however, the laughter died down. Everyone looked round. Was this a joke? They had definitely passed this tree before. They were absolutely sure of it. No matter which turn they took, left, right, or straight, they always ended up at the same fork in the path. If this was a joke, it wasn't funny anymore, and they began to panic. "We should leave," said one of them, his voice shaking slightly. But as they tried to retrace their steps, they realized with growing horror that no matter which direction they walked, they always ended up back at the same spot. The same fork in the path under the same tree. It was as if the forest itself was trying to keep them trapped. They dropped markers where they passed, piling up stones, tying ribbons to branches, even carving into trees to mark their route. But when they looped back around, the signs were gone. It was as if they had never been there at all. The forest seemed to be playing with them, taunting them with its endless twists and turns. The atmosphere grew heavy with dread as the realization dawned on them. They were trapped in a labyrinth of trees with no escape. The sun overhead didn't seem to move. It was stuck in late afternoon, casting long shadows that stretched and distorted with the constantly shifting light. It was as if the forest was holding its breath, watching them with an unseen, knowing gaze. Then, as if the forest itself was mocking their plight, the whispers started. Faint murmurs that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. A chorus of voices that echoed through the ancient trees. "Keep walking," they urged, their voices barely a whisper, yet somehow they heard them loud and clear. So they did. They kept walking, hoping that if they just put one foot in front of the other, they would eventually find their way out of the forest's clutches. But the forest had other plans. Hour after hour, they walked, their pace quickening as they pushed through the dense undergrowth. Their breaths grew heavier, their muscles ached. But no matter how far they went, they couldn't shake the feeling that they were treading water, going nowhere, coming back to the same spot again and again. As their hope began to dwindle, they decided to run. They burst out onto a clearing, racing across the open space, desperate to put as much distance between themselves and the whispering trees as possible. But even in the open, the whispers followed, echoing around them, relentless and mocking. "Keep walking," they hissed, their voices like knives twisting in their ears. After what felt like an eternity, they spotted the sign marking the end of the trail, the entrance to the forest. With renewed determination, they surged forward, stumbling over tree roots and leaping over fallen logs. They could almost taste freedom, feel the cool air of the outside world on their skin. But as they reached for the sign, a chill wind swept through the trees, sending a shiver down their spines. When they touched the sign, it was cold, unnaturally so, and as they turned it, their blood ran cold. The cheerful words welcoming hikers to the enchanted forest were now a sinister warning. "You can't leave." The letters seemed to writhe before their eyes, twisting into grotesque shapes that leered at them like a nightmare made real. The forest had claimed another victim, another soul ensnared by its ancient, unyielding embrace. The once vibrant hues of the forest had deepened, becoming a menacing backdrop to their terror. The playful whispers had turned into menacing growls that reverberated through the trees. The narrator looks directly at the camera and says, "I'm still here." He glances at the ominous signpost, its message a chilling reminder of their entrapment. The playful grin on the face of the carved wooden figure had taken on a sinister, mocking aspect. Its eyes, once friendly, now seemed to glint with cruel amusement, as if sharing a dark secret that they were never meant to know. He then begins to speak in hushed tones, as if sharing a secret. "And I don't think we're ever gonna get out." Days turned into weeks. Weeks into months, and the forest's grip tightened its hold over them. The seasons shifted, painting the forest in hues of gold and crimson, then blanketing it in white as winter's icy fingers crept in. Yet through it all, the forest remained unchanged, unyielding, a silent, watchful sentinel, guarding its secrets deep within its heart. The very air grew heavy, thick with a palpable sense of dread and despair. Every rustle of leaves, every snap of a twig sent their hearts racing, half expecting to see some unseen presence lurking in the shadows. The whispers followed them everywhere, weaving tales of sorrow and torment that chilled them to the bone. They posted their story online, pouring their hearts out, hoping that someone, anyone, would believe them, would understand the harrowing truth. They were trapped in a living nightmare. But the world outside the forest remained oblivious. Their pleas for help lost in the vastness of the internet, swallowed by the indifferent hum of human lives that went on regardless. Each night, as darkness fell, the forest came alive with a symphony of unsettling sounds. The mournful hoot of an owl, the eerie call of a distant wolf, and the unsettling rustle of unseen creatures moving through the undergrowth. It was as if the forest itself was reveling in their terror, delighting in their helplessness. Sleep offered no escape. Even in their dreams, the forest pursued them, twisting their deepest fears and regrets into terrifying visions that bled into their waking moments. Trapped in a cycle of fear and exhaustion, they grew weaker with each passing day. Hope, once their guiding star, flickered and dimmed, until it became a distant memory. They clung to each other for support, finding solace in their shared misery, their friendship forged in the fires of their collective trauma. Then one fateful day, as they sat huddled together beneath the twisted branches of an ancient tree, the whispers reached a fever pitch. The forest was taunting them, goading them towards an unknown fate. "Go deeper," they hissed, their voices slithering through the trees like venomous serpents. "Go deeper, and you shall find your freedom." Driven by a desperate hope, they did as the whispers commanded. They ventured deeper into the forest's heart, away from the familiar haunts of their torment. But they soon realized that the forest had merely lured them into a more sinister game. For as they stumbled deeper into the woods, the trees grew darker, gnarled and twisted. The undergrowth became a tangled mess, and the whispers, once guiding, now seemed to mock their every step. Their worst fears were confirmed when they stumbled upon a clearing, or what was once a clearing. In the center stood a towering monolith, its surface covered in strange, unsettling markings. And at its base lay a circle of stones, each bearing a striking resemblance to the faces of their loved ones. Faces etched with eternal torment, their eyes hollow sockets staring vacantly into the abyss. The forest had claimed them, one by one, leaving only empty shells behind. The whispers surged around them, a cacophony of voices, and they understood, with a chilling certainty, that they were next. As the forest's darkness enveloped them, they realized, with a dawning horror, that they weren't just lost in a woods. They were trapped in a living nightmare, a realm where the boundaries of sanity blurred, and the whispers of the trees held both promise and peril. The forest had ensnared them, body and soul, and there would be no escape. The last thing they heard before succumbing to the forest's embrace was the mocking laughter of the trees, a sound that echoed through eternity, a testament to their eternal imprisonment. Now, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to watch this one next.